Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for a tag video, and I'm going to do the mid-year Freakout tag for 2022. Alright, so you guys know the drill. I answer a series of questions about books, and my answers are... Okay, so first question. Best book you've read so far this year, which, by the way, I am definitely making up for my feeling like I haven't read a lot of fantasy. I didn't read a lot of fantasy last year. I was kind of focused on classics because most of my answers are fantasy books. Okay, so the best book I've read so far this year is Engines of Empire by R.S. Ford. This was such a cool concept, and I don't know if it's going to be a duology or a trilogy or a series, but I know this is the first book, and it's going to continue. And what I love about this book is it mixes magic with technology. Like, I do have a love-hate relationship with people with sci-fi and fantasy being mixed together because a lot of times people give more credit to the sci-fi or something that is more sci-fi to me than fantasy. People claim it's fantasy because it has a fantasy element. And I'm talking about Star Wars here, that my friend referred to Star Wars as being a fantasy because the Jedi mind power is a lot more fantasy-esque. And to me, it's sci-fi because, it takes place in space. Although I just learned that Star Wars was set, and I know to some people and I know maybe to some people this will sound silly because of the opening line of each of the original movies, that I didn't realize it took place in the actual past. Like, actual historic, like, I looked it up, and I did not realize that I know it says long ago or whatever, long time ago or whatever, but I didn't think that meant it actually took place in the past, historically. And I looked it up, and originally, I guess, George Lucas was going to make it in the distant future, but for some reason that changed, and so I was surprised because I don't like when it's historical stuff or stuff that takes place in the past. I don't imagine it being up in space. Not that space travel and stuff didn't exist because obviously, like in the 1960s, but it was weird for me. So I was kind of surprised that it was supposed to that it was supposed to take place in the past. And I know the line in the opening line, but to me that didn't imply that it took place in the actual past. Like, I thought I still thought it took place in an alternate universe or, like, in the future or something. But anyway, so, yeah, I bring that up because that's, like, people say that's kind of a sci-fi fantasy mix, which is funny because when it comes to sci-fi, I'm more into that anyway. But anyway, and I also love that it's a story about siblings, that siblings are the main focus, like this family or not just siblings, but a family. Like, even though they get separated for most of the book, it's about these three siblings and their mom, and we get the mom's perspective, which I think is really cool. I want to see that more in fantasy, which I know sort of Kaigen, I believe, does that, where we get the mom's perspective. In the fifth season also, it's a mother's perspective. We only get the mother's perspective, actually. So I'm glad that there's a lot more fantasy, and hopefully sci-fi too, doing that, where we get the perspective of the parents, and instead of just like a teenager saving the world and without the parents knowing about it. And actually, that's what's cool about the new Spider-Man. I don't know if you guys saw my catching up video. I mentioned that I got Spider-Man No Way Home, and I like that in that version, Aunt May knows by that movie that Peter is Spider-Man. And so she's involved in everything that he does, which So I liked that, because there needs to be, I mean, like, how could parents not know about their kids unless the parents just don't care or pay attention to their kids. Most parents who love their kids would pay attention and be concerned, and constantly trying to protect their, and but all at the same time, you could deal with the whole protective parent versus a parent who trusts their child, even if they're putting their lives in danger. Now, I don't know if you would say that this deals with it. I guess it kind of does, because she has to put trust in her children and send them out in the world. And I like the world that we've explored. I wish we explored it more, and I do feel like we didn't get enough of the whole magic technology exploration. And then, of course, I love stories where we deal with politics in a fantasy world. I really like that. It was just, it's fun, and it was a great starting point for a series, whether it's a series, trilogy, or duology. It was a great starting point. It is so fun and thrilling, and I really enjoyed this. Okay, and then question number 2. Best sequel you've read so far. Okay, let's see. Okay, I had these stacked in order of how I'm gonna, for my next video I'm gonna film, where it's almost all the same books. So I have to go through. Okay. Right here. Sorry about that. Okay, I got it. So the best sequel, I've only read one sequel so far this year. I've started a lot of series. Well, actually, no, I did read another sequel as well. But the best sequel for me is Son of Shadows by Juliet Marillier. So this is the second book in the Seven Waters series. And this is actually about the main character's daughter in the first book. That's how Juliet Marillier sets these books up, where in this particular series, where each book is about the next generation. And I like the romance a little bit more. I like how we got to know the love interest a lot more in this one, and I feel like we got to know. Actually, I feel like we got to know all the characters a little bit more, the main characters of this one, more than Daughter of the Forest. And I like that was kind of a forbidden love story, and how the love interest is the enemy, and how Ladlin, I still don't know if I'm saying her name right, how she has to defend her choices, and she has to make a lot of difficult choices, partly because of the man she loves. And we get a little bit of the relationship between sisters, and it wasn't the main focus. The romance was still the main focus of the story, but we do get a sibling relationship in this story, like in the first one. And we got to explore more of the Seven Waters kingdoms, and we got to see more of the world. Like the first one kind of stayed in one area, I feel like. I mean, the first one did, and while the second one, we get to go beyond. I guess we got to explore another kingdom in that one. So we really we got to explore 2 kingdoms in this one. In this one, though, we get to explore beyond the kingdoms, beyond the palace life, because she ends up getting captured by these people that are considered savages. They're kind of wild, and live on the land, so to speak. It was really fun. I really liked Juliet Marley's writing. It was great to explore beyond the kingdom life in this one. So that was the best sequel. Okay, and then we have question number 3 is new release you have not read yet from this year but want to. And I have a few new releases, actually. So first, Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which I know is at the library. So I will, when I start using the library, which actually as of the day I'm filming this, I might go to the library today. It will depend on it will kind of depend on my mom, actually, because she is off today, and I'll see what if she offers to drop me off at the pool or go to the pool with me, or maybe if she has errands to run, I could go with Bam. If not, then I'll go to the library, or go into the village and hang out at this little cafe. I don't know yet, but anyway, so I might go to the library and get this particular Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I don't know yet, though. And then some of the other ones are The Maid, which is, now I don't remember what I don't know off the top of my head what the Daughter of the Moon Goddess is about, except for that I think she's half human. Our main character is half human, and then also the daughter of the Moon Goddess, as the title says. But I don't remember off the top of my head what it's about. It's fantasy though, so I'm gonna be interested either way. And The Maid is about a woman who works at a hotel, and she discovers a body of one of the rooms she's cleaning up, and she's accused of being guilty of murdering this person. And I believe she's on the spectrum. So there's that one. I want to get that one. So, and if that's a library, who knows, I might look into that one too. Then The Sea of Tranquility. It is by Emily St. John Mandel. It's Emily St. John Mandel, so I guess I may not do cover buys, but I will do author buys where, like, I will give, or at least I'll get them from the library if I can. But so far I've loved Emily St. John Mandel's books. Now they're not my all-time favorite so far, but I really enjoyed them. So I want to check out that one. And then Matrix by Lauren Groff. It's nothing to do with the Matrix franchise, but it's a totally different thing. It's about a woman who is a nun, I believe. And her lifestyle's a nun, and I don't remember I don't remember exactly. I just remember she's a nun, and it just sounded really good when Olive from Book Olive gave a review of it. Now I haven't read anything else by Lauren Groff. I believe she wrote Fates and Furies, I think, or something else. I don't know, something like along that. But anyway, and then we have. Yesterday I watched Elliot Brooks do her video on standalone fantasy, and I don't remember how she pronounced this word. Kaikei or Kaiki. It's the book about an Indian mythology character. I think she was the villain in her myth, and it's kind of her origin story. So it's kind of like Circe by Madeline Miller, I think. I'm interested in that as well. And I've always kind of been on the periphery, been interested in the Indian culture and Indian myth and all that, but I haven't gotten around. I have not tried. I haven't read anything yet, but I would like to at some point. And then the last one is Hotel Magnifique, and I cannot tell you anything about that, and I just know it's fantasy, so. So a lot of these it's risky because I don't remember what they're about, but I'll probably would look them up just to double check to see if I'm still interested. And sometimes it's just fun, as long as you're not spending too much money. Sometimes it's fun to just go, not knowing anything. But it's risky. Of course, it's risky when you're spending, money. That's why I'm wary about blind dates with books. Although that I've only seen that at the roast office, and then of course those books are not that expensive. Okay, question number 4: most anticipated release for the second half of 22. And I don't know if this has come out yet, or if it's coming out soon. But I just picked Babel by R.F. Kuang. I really like her Poppy War series. And the concept in this one sounded really intriguing, and just it got me excited hearing about it. And it's like I said, I liked her writing style in the Poppy War, and that was a great story. So, it sounded really interesting. Okay, so next Question number 5, biggest disappointment of this year, and so now there were a few books that I DNF'd that were kind of disappointing, like Siddhartha. I tried that one, and that ended up not being for me. That was kind of boring. Not a lot happened. It was just a journey of self-discovery and a guy becoming a monk, and then not being a monk for a while because he missed his old life, and then becoming a monk again. No, not a monk. Wasn't a monk. He was a what is the Indian word? They're kind of like monks. I can't remember what they're called. But anyway, that was kind of like, that was a bit of a letdown. And so was H.P. Lovecraft's 7 short stories, but I think that was more the audio book narrator than that one, than the stories themselves. Let's see, anything. I can't think of what else, but the book I ended up choosing is a book that I don't have because I got it from the library, and that is Part of Your World, the Little Mermaid twisted tale, where we have Ariel. What if Ariel did not defeat Ursula? And I liked it. It started out great. It started out promising. I was thinking, oh, these, the people that don't like it and were disappointed by it, I'm not going to feel the same way they do. And I liked Ariel's journey. I like how mature she became, how she was in this position of being queen of her kingdom, and her struggles to deal with that, especially because she hadn't gained back her voice yet, so she couldn't communicate with people, and she was starting to understand what her father felt, what he had to deal with in that struggle. And that burden she had, the weight of her kingdom on her shoulders, and she could only rely on Sebastian and Flounder, and then the other little fish that was, I think he's supposed to be the same fish that did the like in the movie, he's like, he announces training coming in the daughters. That guy, that little fish dude. I think he was a seahorse, actually, not a fish. Well, I mean, a fish, but he was a seahorse specifically. And I also like how mature Flounder became as well. He matured a lot, but both Flounder and Ariel still maintained some of who they were. They just had they had been through a lot, and they, as a court in this book, the conflict is that they lost. They did not defeat Ursula. And now, granted, maybe some of these criticisms people might think of them as unfair because I'm not the target audience. I mean, I'm 33 years old, and this is probably middle grade, young adult story, so it's for kids, but people, I think, that grew up with these movies will read these books too and appreciate them. And I'm not the only one who feels disappointed by this book, and I'm not the only one my age that is disappointed by this book. Because the rest of it, like, I do like how we got to explore both kingdoms a little bit, although I feel like we didn't explore them both enough. I would have loved to get more. But we do get, Ariel does, she finds out that Ursula, she comes back to land because she finds out her father is potentially alive, and Ursula, as Vanessa, still has him in her possession. So she goes to land, and she also kind of walks around the village and meets these people, and she acknowledges that before she was so caught up in her fantasy of Eric and wanting to, get the kiss of true love from him, that she didn't really get to explore the kingdom enough. And so we get a little bit more of that. So we have a lot of extra characters. We have a handful of extra characters involved. And we also get more of Carlotta and Grimsby. They're more developed in this one. So there were some positives about this book. But my biggest disappointment was Vanessa, aka Ursula, and Eric. Vanessa felt basically like a high school teenage girl trying to be the queen bee of the school and sabotage the girl who's trying to like Sharpay in High School Musical. That was Vanessa. Or maybe even, Blair Waldorf from Gossip Girl. She did not feel as scary, because in the original, she was scary in the original movie. Not just at the end, but later on, she was intimidating, and she's not. She's just kind of annoying in this one. Maybe other people don't agree, and maybe other people were annoyed by her originally, but I was not. I was intimidated by her. I was scared, but I also thought she was awesome as I got older. And in this one, she's just a big letdown. And then we have, and she didn't do much of anything. She was plotting and planning stuff, but there wasn't a lot she was, and there was implied stuff, I think, but I felt like she didn't do a lot. So that was a bit disappointing. And then Eric, I assumed he was at least 21 originally. Like, in the original movie. I thought he was a little bit, like, I didn't realize but he was written by Liz Braswell so young in Part of Your World. It's to the point where he was like, and he wasn't even mad at Eric. I mean, he did get mad for a little bit, but then he got over it really quickly, because it was like, you're thinking, he's probably, like, it was like, he had oh my god, I was dating a mermaid, and that's so awesome. I'm gonna get a tattoo of her name on my arm. It's like, I mean, I know tattoos probably exist because pirates get tattoos and stuff like that, but that whole tattoo thing was a little weird for me in his case. And he just seemed so immature and annoying. He was like, I got a hot girlfriend now, and it's like, who's a mermaid. And I was assuming he was a little bit older than Ariel. Granted, Ariel is probably, I don't know if she's considered immortal or not, but I don't know if in the world of Disney would mermaids be considered immortal. But yeah, so it was just, Eric was just annoying. They were both very annoying characters, and then the climax was just again a letdown too. So I'm gonna say about that. So yeah, that was my biggest disappointment. Okay, and then question number 6 is biggest surprise this year. Let's see, what did I pick? Okay, so I picked. Okay, so one of these, I picked 2, and one of them is one that I've hesitated to continue with, but thinking about it and sitting on it for a while, and now that I've had the second one, I watched the movie adaptation twice now, I have revised my opinion and my feelings. My feelings have grown on this book. On one of these books. So, first we have So, the 2 I picked are these 2, Dune and Promise of Blood. Which, first of all, I want to think, back in the day, I don't know if this would have been the kind of book I would read. It's a fantasy war book. It's basically inspired by the French Revolution. I think that's what people have said. I think that's what I've read, where it's after the revolution, when the revolutionaries have taken over and defeated the nobles, and it's from the perspective of, and again, we have a perspective of an older character who is a parent and struggling to lead these people and to keep everything together. Like, I really appreciate that when we have that perspective instead of just teenagers, being burdened with glorious purpose. And yes, I'm stealing Loki's line. It's kind of it's kind of nice to see a story where a parent and a child are working together. And it's a fun, and I really find the magic system really interesting. It's the whole, magic is involves inhaling it. It's inhaling powder, and that's what gives you magic powers. So it's like heroin. And I just think that's such an interesting concept. And as I said before when I talked about this book in the past, that to me it makes sense that you could potentially become addicted to magic. And that's the risk in here, that you can become addicted to this powder. And it makes sense because, for me anyway, it makes sense because I could see where the idea of having magic, especially if magic is still a new concept to you, relying on, depending on it, because it gives you power. It makes you strong. You can do all these amazing things with magic. I mean, a good magic system still has limitations, unless it's like a soft magic system where you don't know the limitations and it's just crazy. Like, like I would feel like in Alice in Wonderland that would probably be considered a soft magic system because it's chaotic and crazy. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the rules are in that world. But yeah, so I was surprised that I liked this so much because I don't think I would have liked it before. With the whole kind of it being a war story. But I think over the years I've realized I do like war stories if they're fantastical war stories. Like war stories in politics and fantasy is a really cool. I really like that. Like I don't want to hear about our politics. Or, I don't want to read because it's, this is escapism. Which actually brings me to the other one where I also like that kind of stuff in sci-fi. So this, in the past, I've said I don't know if I want to continue this, but as I've sat on it a little bit more, I like this book even more than after my initial reading of it, and I do want to read it again at some point. And I have the catching up video. I talked about getting that Terry bought the second one for me. And this is just, like I said, this is the kind of sci-fi I like, where it has a fantasy, like kind of has a similar fantastical backdrop, similar, fantasy skeleton of there's these people ruling this planet and trying to run this planet, but then they have enemies that don't want them running things, and our character's the chosen one. He gets this great power. And I do believe, according to reading the back description of the second book, he does get a little tyrannical. Like, this book hints at how dangerous it could be and hints at potential threat that Paul, the main character, is. But I think the second one is really going to dive deep into that, how this whole experience has changed him. Now, of course, there are some dated elements. And I was just reading Wheel of Time, and both this one and Wheel of Time do the same thing where I don't know if I just never noticed it in the modern fantasy I've read, but we spend a lot of times in the heads of the characters. We hear their exact thoughts. Like, and sometimes it's a little jarring. It can be, and I gotta admit, it can be a bit annoying. But yeah, but what surprised me about this is I don't read a lot of sci-fi. I'm starting to try to get into it more. And I don't read I don't read sci-fi that often. Like I rarely read it. And the closest to science fiction I get is superhero stuff. And even then I don't read the comics, I just watch the movies or the TV shows in some cases. So it was kind of cool to enjoy a sci-fi and to finish it. Just kind of I felt about Jurassic Park too. Like I actually liked it. I'm surprised, but I did like it despite the fact that there was a lot of explaining the science beyond creating the dinosaurs and stuff like that. Parts like that was kind of annoying. And then there's the timeline was I really liked that one as well. That was another sci-fi. But yeah, this was fun. I had a good time with this, even though for a while I was saying I don't know if I want to continue with it, but actually now after sitting on it for a little while, I want to continue, and not just with the movies, and besides, what if the second one doesn't do well? I mean, I'm pretty sure it will, unless they just royally screw up, but I think it will. I'm sure we'll get the next movie, and hopefully the third, a movie based on the second book, Messiah. But yeah. So these were the two surprises for me. Okay. So next we have. Okay. Question number 7 is favorite new author, and I think I guess Frank Herbert is another new author for me, and so is Brian McClellan. So I have a lot of new authors, and but I say probably my favorite is Joe Abercrombie. He wrote He's been writing, he wrote Half a King, which I haven't read. I've only read 2 books by him, but I really like these 2 books. I had a good time with them. I like the characters he created, and that's the first Law trilogy. I read the first book and the first 2 books in that trilogy, so I just one more book, and then all of his standalones, and then Half a King. But it was a fun. I like his writing. It's a fun story, and I had a great time with his characters. So yeah, so I really like his author, and I really like Joe Abercrombie. I can't wait to read more of his work. And I guess I like grimdark. I guess for me it doesn't matter. I just like any fantasy, you know. I mean, I have my limits, but mostly when it comes to fantasy, I don't have a lot of limits to what I'll like. Okay, so next question is newest fictional crush. And originally I did say Kate. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. In the Poppy War trilogy. Even then, I still don't know. I do really like his character. And, you know, I would love hanging out with him. I like him better than Neza. Neza. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I don't know what she's a pronunciation guide in the back of her, but I'll have to double check on that. But, but I did like him better. But I don't know if I would consider him a fictional crush. Like, I'm just kind of moving away from fictional crushes, or at least, well, no, I mean, I do like fictional crushes when it comes on screen. But when it comes to books, I don't know, I just don't get as attached to characters in books. Because, I mean, my first love was always TV and movies. Like, I love reading, I've always loved reading, but again, with me in movies and TV, it's easier for me to get into the characters sometimes and become attached to them on screen than in a book, which is weird saying that, especially as this being a book channel, but, you know, so I don't get as many fictional crushes anymore, basically. But my newest favorite character would probably be Rin from the Poppy War. Rin is such an awesome character. She's a very unlikable character. She doesn't make the smartest decisions. She's addicted. She's addicted. You just want to smack her sometimes and shake her, but I still love her because she's so messed up and dysfunctional. Like, I'm not someone who has to have main characters that are likable. I mean, come on, I like villains. And villains do horrible shit, you know? So, I guess the difference being that villains, that's who they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be bad people. Well, heroes are supposed to not be bad people. They're supposed to be perfect. Well, not perfect, but just great character, you know, likable characters. And it's like, no, protagonist does not mean they have to be likable all the time. They're just the main character of the story. We're in their point of view. And there's a lot of stories now where the main character turns out to be the villain later on. And I think people were saying that this is kind of a villain origin story anyway. But I like how she's so messed up, and you just get so frustrated with her. I like Scarlett. One of my favorite characters is Scarlett O'Hara because she's such a selfish, vain human being. And you see, and I definitely felt bad and sympathetic because Rin is struggling so much. And it's a very complicated situation because it's hard to tell what the right thing is anymore, and you're in the middle of this brutal war where people are constantly, you know, and sometimes you have to do horrible things that you have to basically, like, shove it all in the back of your mind and just dismiss all the bad stuff. Dismiss the fact that you're killing people and committing these atrocious acts just to win and to fight and to survive. You have to kind of shove that in the back of your mind and just ignore it, or else it's going to drive you insane. And plus, Rin's powers are kind of cool. Like, I get Nez has fear of her powers, but it's also so badass as well. But it also can, you know, destroy you. So sometimes the most badass power can be dangerous and can hurt you. So I love Rin. She's an awesome main character. an awesome protagonist, even if she's a horrible human being at times, most of the time. Okay, so next, a book that made you cry this year. Once again, I don't cry during books. I cry during movies and TV shows, as long as I'm paying complete attention. I cried when I was watching Spider-Man No Way Home. That's all I'm gonna say. If you've seen the movie, I'm sure you can guess why I cried. But I don't cry in books. I feel bad for saying that, but books don't affect me that strongly. So I'll get mad at them and I'll, and call characters stupid, but I've never cried. Honestly, I'm more prone to crying when I see it on screen and hear it. So question number 11 is a book that made you happy, and it's a book I don't have. I listened to it on an audiobook, and it is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I was so happy when I heard this book was coming out. I was hoping she would kind of continue in the Caraval universe. I mean, I know sometimes it can get tiresome if an author sticks to the same universe. Like Cassandra Clare, all of her books are all about the Shadowhunters and in that world, and I can understand where that would get annoying and frustrating to spend constantly where she only writes about that, because you almost want the author to spread their wings and try different things. But so far, Stephanie Garber's only written three books, I think. I don't know if she's written anything else out of the Caraval series, but she wrote that trilogy, and now she's written Once Upon a Broken Heart, which it was not 100% exactly what I was hoping for, because I was hoping for an origin story for some of these characters, some of my favorites, but sorry, I feel like there was something in my hair. But we do get to spend time with another one of my favorite antagonists of the trilogy. We got to spend time with him and get to know his character again. I was kind of waiting for his origin story, but we just got, but just the fact that he came back in this story, we're in this world again. And I do think it's a story that kind of takes place before finale and right after it. I think that's where we're leaning towards. But it's basically this girl whose name I do not remember makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, and because she thinks the guy who's meant to be her true love has been put under a spell by her stepmother and stepsister and been forced to marry her. And she asks him to stop the wedding, but when he does, he basically freezes everybody. Which I'm thinking this was the wedding, the scene that, I don't know if it was, I think it was Tella, who was, I think she passes this scene in Legendary. I think she comes across these people. That's why I think it was between the two, right? Like around the time of Legendary and after finale, I think. And she ends up stopping when she realizes what she has done and saving them, and she ends up getting more than she bargained for, because she sacrifices herself, and in doing that, she ends up becoming seen as the savior of these people, of her stepmom and stepsister, and the wedding. She becomes very popular, and then Jax, the Prince of Hearts, comes to collect on his deal with her, because he has made this deal with her that I'll do this for you, but you owe me 3 kisses. And he gets to choose who she kisses. And she ends up coming across Scarlet and Tella at one point. And she also gets to go to another part of the world. And it was just so fun to be back in this world and explore beyond Caraval. And I was hoping there were 2 other characters that would show up in this, at least have a scene or 2, but they don't. But I had such a fun time being in this world. And I love Garber's writing style. I think people consider it purple prose, but I had a good time and it was fun. It was fluffy and just picturing everything, the beautiful clothes and all the food and the decor of the location the place she goes to, and it was really fun. to be back in this world. And like I said, it was fun to see Jax, the Prince of Hearts, again. I really, despite what's going on in the story, it still made me feel like comfort being back in this world again. Okay, so, and then question number 12. Okay, wait, I'll come back to 12 in a minute. So question number 13 is, what do you need to read by the end of this? Oh, wait, I don't have an answer for that one either. Okay, so what do I need to read by the end of this year? I want to get through Clash of Kings and Storm of Swords this year. I want to read the Last Argument of Kings, which is the last book in the First Law trilogy, so I can get to his next work. I want to read Dune Messiah. I want to get to this one as well, which is Middlemarch, my reread of Middlemarch. I got the Clothbound edition of it. I want to, there's Ship of Magic, the first book in Live Ship Traders. I'm very close to finishing this one as well. I want to get the Wastelands and possibly Wizard and Glass, which are the part of the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. Brothers Karamazov, I want to finish that. So I have a lot of books I want to get to this year. I want to, Way of Kings I want to finish as well. There are so many books I want to get to. But yet, some of these are really, the problem is some of these books I want to get to are longer books. Okay, and then, okay, so I guess I'll stop there, because I don't know what, so prettiest book. Okay, well, I forgot to look that up, to look at the books I bought so far, so I'm gonna pick one that I have, and I'm gonna go with this one. So yes, Lord of the Rings, the 50th anniversary. So this was, oh, well, actually, not just that one. Actually, I can say this one too. Middlemarch by George Eliot, this Clothbound edition. So, organized. If you saw my catch-up video, I talked about this catching up video, this was a book that I picked out for Terry to buy for me for my birthday. So we both have May birthdays. So, and she was coming this summer. So we had decided to just wait until she came, and we would buy each other books at Books A Million. And it made it easier because we could pick them out. And, we have very different taste in books, and so it's kind of hard for me to buy books off the cuff for her, so I have to go, we do Amazon wishlist too, so, but it was kind of cool to be able to do it together, and actually go to the store. But yes, I picked this one because it's not as pretty as some of the more recent editions the last couple years, like the one I wanted to get for her, but that was like $36, and we made a limit of 50, and it was like, that would be the only book she could buy. I could buy for her. So I didn't get that one, but that one was really, it was a really fancy edition of it. There's one with there's one with a little bit of red on it, and then there's one, and the one I picked out is kind of a flexi bound, I would say, and it's gray and has the elvish ruins on it, and it's it's a really fancy edition. Like, it's really even more special than this one, but it was really expensive. But I mean, I might buy that for her one day. I don't know when, like maybe Christmas or something. But anyway, so I still kind of like this one. It has, although it's more for the all the extra stuff in it, but I think this one is still pretty because it's simple. It has the most significant aspect of the story on it, the ring. It doesn't, there's not too much. And I think if you prefer a more simplistic cover design, then you might like this one. And it's not like, and when I, even though, even, and it's also, I appreciate that it has the author's name on it, but it's not in huge, it doesn't take over the cover, but it's still big enough that you can see it. Like the title dominates, which I think is what books should do. I don't care who the author is. I don't, even if I love all your books, to me, I think it's annoying when the author's name gets more importance, even though yes, they put all their effort into this, but I don't think it should be above the title, because the story isn't about the author. The story is the author is the creator of the story, but I think the title of the story should be just as equal and not second best to the who wrote it. Because for me, I don't always buy books because most of the time, I mean, yeah, like Babel, I said because, oh, Arth Kwan wrote it, and Emily St. John Mandel, I don't know what the Sea of Tranquility is about, but I'm gonna get it because it's her. She wrote it, and I like her writing and stuff, and I've liked her stories so far. But most cases, I'm getting the story because of the author. I mean, I don't have a lot of works where, I don't have a lot of books where I like multiple books by the same author that much. Like, I don't have a lot of auto-buy authors. I have only a few. Maybe even only a couple auto-buy authors. But yeah, so I just love this. I think it's so cool to have this edition. I mentioned that I did have the mass markets, but I got rid of them. The mass markets are just basically like the movie covers, with the movie, like the first one, Fellowship of the Ring, has Frodo on it from the movie. So Elijah Wood. Two Towers, I think, had Saruman. Yeah, I always get them mixed up. I think Sauron is the main villain, the main antagonist, and Saruman is the wizard. So I think Saruman is on, and then Aragorn is on the last book, Return of the King. So, and it makes sense. Which, if they made that version of The Hobbit, then I guess who would be on the cover of The Hobbit? Wouldn't it be Bilbo, I guess? Maybe they could do movie tie-ins where each of the company are on each book, each copy. They could do that, but yeah, like I'm one of those people who has mixed feelings about. I get it's a marketing thing, and I'm not as bothered by it as some people are, but it doesn't. I don't always love it when they have the covers with the actors on it from the movie. So, and then the last one that I'm going to talk about, the last pretty one I'm going to talk about is this one. So I do have the Oxford World Classics edition of Middlemarch, a paperback, but I kind of wanted the Clothbound because I really like collecting Clothbounds. And it was either Middlemarch or War and Peace, but War and Peace was like in the $30 or $36. It's like, I'll just get this, get this one. So, especially because my dad was offering to buy it for me. And, I told him how much this one cost. This is the price I told him, whatever this one. And then I saw War and Peace, and then I looked at the price and realized it was more expensive. So I stuck to this one. And no, I did want to reread this one. But, yeah, I love these Clothbound. I'm not a big hardback person, but I do like these. And then I also like the Everyman library editions as well. I really like those too. But I really like this whole Clothbound feel, and the covers were these pretty images. Now I know, of course, the Clothbounds, they do kind of fade over time from reading them so much, but I still think these are really pretty, and I like the ribbon bookmark. Like, I like how there's always some kind of image on the cover that represents a part of the book. Now, I don't know, I guess this is kind of a portrait of all of our characters, like a silhouette version of the main characters. I don't know who was who though. But yeah, I love this salmon pink color. I think that's really pretty. But anyway, so that's my other pretty cover. Okay, so I answered that is my mid-year freakout tag. So if you
please feel free to do this tag. And it is the middle of the month. The middle of the year. So if you want to do it like soon. Like do it now, because this is the mid-year month. So if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification below if you want to be notified for my latest videos. And I hope you are enjoying yourself, enjoying your day, enjoying your reading. And I will talk to y'all later. All right, bye.